So one of my Instagram followers sent me this post and asked me if I would respond to it. So here it is. Not everyone can go vegan. Well, this is simply true, but then it says some don't have the privilege to do so, and so on. We've heard this so many times, and although it is true in some contexts, this is also problematic, and yes, this is something I absolutely need to respond to. I'm also going to talk about people who actually cannot eat fully vegan. So if you're struggling on a plant-based diet, stay till the end. Alright, let's get right in. So first of all, we cannot discuss this without getting the point of veganism, which a lot of people seem to be missing in this context. I read some of the comments and someone said, I also dislike how vegans ignore there are many indigenous tribes who have eaten meat for thousands of years and respected nature as part of their culture and tradition. So first, let's get this out of the way. Now, no vegans are mandating everyone on earth to go vegan. Well, some might be, but those vegans are also missing the point. But 99.9% of vegans do not say everyone has to go vegan. I have never ever heard a vegan say that. The point of veganism isn't to not kill any animals whatsoever, but to cause the least amount of pain, suffering, and deaths possible, to live a life of compassion, free of discrimination and oppression. Yes, in another video, I talked about the difference between someone who is vegan and someone who is plant-based. Veganism is an ethical philosophy against animal abuse and oppression of sentient beings, which is something most of us already have within ourselves. So once you make the connection that it's got nothing to do with our diet, things should become clear. So it all comes down to necessity. We all know that there are people who need to hunt and eat meat and fish to survive and sustain their lives. We call those people sustenance hunters or fishers. They hunt out of necessity just like lions do, therefore it is justified. But when we living in a developed country eat meat, say a burger or a bacon sandwich or get a latte or frappuccino at Starbucks, we don't do so for our survival. It is purely to satisfy our taste buds, in other words, our sensory pleasure. If survival really was the reason we eat meat, then I could justify killing a dog on the street and eating them and drinking their milk and say I need to do it because protein and calcium and iron. That is crazy. And you know that is unethical and inhumane because of one reason. It is unnecessary. So if you're one of those who say this, basically what you're saying is, yes, I know eating meat needlessly is unethical, but because the indigenous people need to eat meat to survive, we living in a developed country should also eat meat. It doesn't make any sense. Where is your logic? We're not sustenance hunters, and if you use that reasoning, then by your own logic, you cannot eat any meat sold at a supermarket or order meat-based dishes at restaurants. Them hunting a certain number of animals they need for a period of time out of necessity doesn't justify us mass-producing and mass-murdering animals, all for our sensory pleasure and profit. There's nothing natural about this, especially factory farming, and this isn't what humanity has done for thousands of years anyways. A question I'd like to ask is, has humanity always done the right things for thousands of years? Society changes and we have to adapt. The cultural or historical excuses not only don't apply today in the West, but also don't work as a guideline for our morality. Now, when we talk about morality or ethics, we have to apply the same logic to other similar situations to see if the excuse really works. I know fast fashion is not ethical or sustainable, so I shouldn't buy from fast fashion brands, but I know some people cannot afford anything else, anything more expensive at a given time, so that allows me to ethically buy clothes from fast fashion brands every weekend. I'm not morally allowed to kill anyone, a human, but some people somewhere are having to justifiably kill others in the form of self-defense. Therefore, I can morally justify killing someone when I don't have to. It doesn't work like this. It's a moral violation. Just because not everyone can go vegan doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best to reduce cruelty, violence, and suffering, even if or when we can. So this is the foundation of the concept of veganism, which is all about necessity. Now we can move forward. So this person comments, what vegans do makes me feel bad because I can't possibly go vegan. I don't know about this specific person, but I've heard this so many times. We just make it sound like we have never eaten or even seen vegan foods. Many of us eat oatmeal in the West. If you say oatmeal cooked with oat milk for breakfast, that's vegan. A black bean burrito for lunch, that's vegan. Get an oat milk latte instead of regular latte. And pasta with marinara sauce, that's delicious vegan dinner. Now you have eaten a fully plant-based diet for a day. Don't tell me you can't do this in America or anywhere in Europe. These are everywhere, and these are some of the cheapest things you can get at any store. You don't need Whole Foods or Trader Joe's right next to your house to eat those foods if you have the will to eliminate animal abuse from your lifestyle. The truth is, the people who say this do not and aren't willing to make the change. That's the difference, or just haven't made the connection yet. I was one of them. So this is where the societal problem is. People say they can't go vegan. However, if you're against animal abuse, it should come natural for you to not consume any animal products when you don't have to. But people just say it and then eat animals when they don't have to anyways. I know that they eat birthday cakes full of whipped cream and turkey at every Thanksgiving. So now you should see that people are using an excuse that doesn't morally justify their behaviors. The truth is, most people can go vegan. They don't want to sacrifice the sensory pleasure they get from eating animals and their secretions, their habit and tradition. So they think eating vegan is a restriction when it's in fact not, considering there's a vegan version of everything these days. So although the sentence, "not everyone can go vegan," is true in those two main or common contexts, it is very concerning and problematic that posts like this get spread on social media. Because what this does is it gives people who actually can go vegan an invalid excuse for not doing so, but instead getting animal foods for every meal they eat, which then further fuels the already existing cognitive bias and socially supports unjustified and unnecessary harm. Now, I understand for some people it's actually difficult depending on their situations. Let's talk about food allergies. I have received a comment by someone who's allergic to both soy and nuts. Not gonna lie, that would be pretty hard. But this person is asking questions about different alternatives, recipes, and making an effort to eat a balanced vegan diet instead of just using the excuse to eat animals as usual. Next, it is pretty common for college students to struggle on the plant-based diet for multiple reasons. 1. Their campus is located in the middle of nowhere. 2. They have a meal plan and that's your only option in terms of location and money. And the CAF just doesn't offer any vegan option or not enough vegan options for them to get a healthy and balanced nutrition intake. So in this case, if this was your situation, it becomes a survival problem, right? And it just doesn't sound reasonable for you to drive 2 hours every single day to get a banana. So here's the list for you. If the first one applies, or if all of the other ones below it apply to your situation, just get something vegetarian. But it's ultimately you that chooses your actions. This is only excused if you do not grab ice cream full of dairy after lunch, if you eat plant-based when you go home to your family. Of course, if your family members are supportive of your choice. Whenever you have access to a vegan option, then I would call you a vegan. The title of a vegan isn't what matters. You're at least making an effort every day to eliminate as many animal products as you can from your diet. And that's what really matters. No one has to go vegan. And people should do this so they become vegans as a consequence. Being vegan is not a commitment or the goal. It is just a consequence. Now lastly, there's a fairly strong example written in this post. Speaking of health concerns, specifically in terms of recovery from eating disorders, I understand that it is extra difficult to eat vegan in this case because this is where a plant-based diet could actually be a restriction depending on the eating disorder or the person's condition, and most importantly, what is available for them that they can eat. This is a big factor. These elements must come together when determining what they can eat. So depending on what's available, some may not be able to obtain a balanced nutrition intake on a vegan diet. Alsana, a leading recovery community, says, vegan clients need to learn how to allow both of these things to be true. Harming animals is against my ethics, and I have the right not to violate those ethics. And harming myself is against my ethics, and I have a right to nourish myself even when my ideal food choices are not available. When I'm nourished, I have the energy I need to be my best self in the world and in my relationships. So again, it becomes a survival issue, and you're supposed to nourish yourself with the things you can eat. Plus, if more people go vegan, there will be more vegan foods and products on the market simply because of supply and demand. So we have to be the change in the society for them. While in behavioral care, care. A nationally recognized leader in the treatment of eating disorders says that when following a vegan diet is closely aligned with your values, it can be a source of pleasure and fulfillment, especially as you take steps in your recovery. So again, yes, ultimately, it all comes down to your core values and necessity when determining your actions, and of course, your survival and well-being is the priority. And again, the information that the vegan diet may not always work with people with eating disorders does not justify eating a non-vegan diet if you don't have any eating disorders. I hope this video was helpful. If you found it insightful, please like and share. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.